what's your reporting on what did happen between the two Aarons with the Jets, Rodgers and Glenn, Dianna?
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty obvious at this point that both sides decided that it was best to go in a different direction, not because one didn't like the other. I think with the new regime and the way Aaron Glenn wants to essentially restart this and change the culture, change the identity of what the New York Jets have been. The Jets were so hopeful with Aaron Rodgers 2 years ago, and Rich, I know you've read a bunch of my reporting over the last 2 years since Rodgers has been there, and some of the disconnect and some of the problems that came with Rodgers. Some of it his fault, some of it the organization's fault, some of it just general PR. But I think for this new regime, they felt that this needs to be a fresh start. So when they met, late last week or 2 weeks ago now, right? The conversation was friendly. There was no anger or bitterness. It was, hey, look, if you were to stay, here's how we would want it to go. The Pat McAfee stuff has come up that I reported that they discussed that maybe that would look different for them in the future seasons if Rodgers were to stay. The Pat McAfee show never really bothered people in the building. Nobody ever said to me, oh, man, I just wish he wouldn't do it. But everyone would brace for it. It was, all right, Aaron's back on ESPN. What are we going to get into today? So I think with the new regime, they just want to cut out the distractions. They want to get rid of the circus and clean this up. And Woody Johnson made this hire because he wanted a leader of men. And there's a reason why Aaron Glenn got this job. And I think part of that is to really do this cleanup and do the sweep to get the Jets back on track.
Well, I mean, I don't know. The New York Post story over the weekend kind of, it kind of rankled me because, you're reporting about the McAfee stuff and Rodgers and the Jets, and they just didn't see eye to eye. And that's one thing. But to come out and basically say that he pleaded for another year or two, that means that there's an axe that's grinding somewhere. There's somebody's grinding an axe, and it's just like what's the point of that? Unless it's to get out there for somebody that Rodgers wants to keep playing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Rodgers needs to leak that for the world to know he still wants to play. Guess what he can do? He can just have conversations with Les Snead right now. Like if he really wants to get back in there, he can give Omar Khan a call, or at least his agents can. So, yeah, I don't know where that came from, and I refuse to do the source off and dig on who's saying what because I just went through it for 2 years. With the Jets, with so much of my reporting, because it comes with a lot of heat, and I'm not sure who that was that reported that, but I'll just go with what I know, and nobody had shared with me that Rodgers was begging to stay a New York Jet. In fact, this entire time I knew that Aaron Rodgers wanted his time in New York to come to an end as well. He knew this chapter was over a while ago. So. Unless there was a change of heart and he just really fell in love with the Jersey Shore, like I have a hard time believing he's sitting there going, Woody, let's really fix this and make it work, and I can lead this team and we can fix all the problems. And it wasn't me, it was Saleh, it was Joe Douglas. I don't believe any of that. And I think most of the candidates that interviewed for this head coaching job with the New York Jets were asked the question directly from Woody. Do you think we should stick with Aaron Rodgers? So there was a time where they considered it, and everybody said the same thing. No, you guys need to turn the page on him. So while this new regime believed in it, almost every single candidate that interviewed for the job had the same sentiment. And I can tell you around the league, nobody's going, why would the Jets let him walk? No one's wondering why they did that. It's more, this makes sense. This didn't work.
That said, Dianna Russini, I see a breadcrumb dropped when I see one or hear one. You mentioned if Rodgers has any interest in continuing to play, he could just call, and you name the general managers of the Los Angeles Rams and Pittsburgh Steelers. Are those crumbs? Do I need to pick those up off the floor and follow up, or we're just throwing that out there, Dianna?
That's why I don't do this show. You're too good. You're too good at this damn thing. I need a Rich Eisen filter. Just things that.
Sorry about that. I saw the breadcrumb dropped on the floor. You can pick that up. What's up? Look, do I follow a dotted line here or what? No?
Structure is good. I don't care how talented, how smart, how disciplined you can be. We all need it. And that means Aaron Rodgers as well. And I think of organizations that have a very firm structure to not just the way they run things, but just their offenses in general. And Sean McVay, to me, is one of the best to do it. And it's very clear that Sean is the voice of the Rams and the decision maker, and has a tremendous ability to connect with all types of different personalities. And I know that Rodgers has tons of respect for Sean McVay. So that doesn't seem completely off the grid if the Matthew Stafford situation doesn't iron itself out. Talking to a few people around the league today, just trying to say what everyone else thinks that the Rams are going to do here. Most people believe that Sean McVay is going to have a hard time parting ways with Stafford, knowing that he has such an understanding of the offense. He doesn't need much. It's what makes Stafford so great. Because he's so smart, you don't have to really get involved with the quarterback play, because Matthew can just take care of what he needs to do. And there's value in that. We'll see how they'll be able to shake this out if it does work itself out. But there's definitely belief around the league that Stafford and the Rams will figure it out. But if, let's say they don't, because we've seen this stuff happen. We saw it happen last year with them. It bled right into training camp where we didn't know what was going to happen there with the contract. I think that Rodgers would make sense. And I think it would be something that I could see them having a conversation with him. It's really going to come down to if teams think he still has enough himself, right? Because I think from we'll just say the shoulders up, the arms up, that's all fine. That's all there. But there's obviously some lower body issues that he's still dealing with from that injury. He didn't put together any great tape this last year with the Jets. So it's really going to be about whether or not a coach, a general manager, and even perhaps maybe some front office people, if they still think that the Aaron Rodgers that we all know and that we love and that we've seen play in some spectacular moments, if he still has some of that.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.